She's called Spoiler because she spoils everything. Your Geek History on Stephanie Brown is now in session. Hello and welcome to Geek History Lesson. I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson.
And I'm Jason Wears Purple Sometimes Inman. Welcome to your Mind University, because this is Geek History Lesson, the podcast where we teach you about one character in a little bit less than an hour, sometimes constructs, sometimes teams, but we're just doing a character today. And today's character is who, Ashley?
It is Stephanie Brown, Spoiler. And before you get on Twitter about my intro, that's a true thing, and I will tell you why very shortly.
Well, it's in the name of the character, right?
Yeah.
But she's also Batgirl. She's also been Robin. Has she been anybody else? Well, I guess we'll find out.
She's been dead.
Oh, easy. Spoilers.
It's not a spoiler. It's
Spoilers.
30 years old.
Spoiler. I think we're going to be saying that quite a lot. Because should we say spoiler alert? That's it. Why didn't they make a comic book starring her called Spoiler Alert?
Well, because Stephanie Brown titles get canceled. That's why.
Okay, fair enough. All right, was this lesson suggested by any of our lovely listeners?
It sure was. It was requested by Zach Blaine, Hamby, Brandon Noel, Melanie Millington, Sarah Heron, Grod Frankenstein, at Cole Cipher, Lance Kaminsky, and at Andicticus. I'm so sorry.
Hey, we're doing the best we can on the ats and the names and the usernames. Sometimes they're difficult. All right, cool. Is there anything else we should talk about? Of course, we're celebrating the Batman. That's why we're talking about the Batman character.
We're also doing Stephanie Brown because the week this episode comes out is when the final issue of Robins comes out. Issue 6 comes out in print this week. And I'll tell you right now, it's my favorite version of Stephanie Brown I've ever read.
Cool. Is she in a Robin costume in it, or a spoiler costume?
In some of the flashbacks, she's mostly spoiler.
Okay, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the 10-cent origin. That is where Ashley is going to give you the Cliff Notes version of everything you need to know about Stephanie Brown in case you ever go to a cocktail party at Arkham Tower and Dr. Hugo Strange walks up to you and says, "Who is the Stephanie Brown?" And you can be like, "Oh, give me that cocktail. I'll tell you."
Stephanie Brown, a.k.a. Spoiler, a.k.a. Robin, a.k.a. Batgirl, is a DC Comics superhero. Her first appearance was in Detective Comics number 647 in June of 1992, exactly 30 years ago.
Wow, she's older than I thought she was.
She was created by Chuck Dixon and Tom Lyle, also who worked on Jawiin. And her team affiliations include the Batman family, Batman Inc., and Young Justice. And her abilities include being an expert tracker, a trained computer hacker, a skilled hand-to-hand combatant, a martial artist, and an expert acrobat. And she is currently being portrayed in live action by Morgan Kohan in the Batwoman show of the DCTV universe fame.
She's in the Batwoman show?
Since last year.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. That's another reason why I originally pitched this episode last year, and then we bumped it for something.
Oh, yes, that is correct. We tried to do a whole bunch of Batwoman stuff, and I think our schedule just got filled.
Yeah. Well,
sometimes
by
a bunch of Marvel stuff.
Sometimes stuff comes out at the same time.
A bunch of Marvel Disney Plus stuff got in front of release. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So we're doing it now.
Cool. Well, that's all good.
Yeah. And if you are listening to this episode because you love female superheroes and you love young ladies taking charge of your life, I would love to ask you to go to auroraandtheeagle.com and check out my original Canadian superhero. She's not blonde. Her hair is colorful instead. This is my biographically inspired superhero story about Aurora Borealis, Canada's national superhero, immigrating to the United States to train with the Eagle, America's national superhero, and to uncover the mystery of the death of her predecessor. This is a prestige 48-page issue comic book in print for the first time ever, with an amazing cover A by Lightning Strikes Superstar on, and listener of the podcast, Superstar on Instagram, and a cover B by Prince of Kickstarter himself, Connor Hughes. So if you are a fan of independent comics, if you're a fan of this podcast, and if you're a fan of superheroes, please go and support Aurora and the Eagle. The campaign is running until March 30th.
And the colored art is gorgeous. So go over there and help with that stretch goal. Hopefully by the time you're listening to this, she's already passed that stretch goal. Ashley, who did your colored art? Ali
Von Ortiz, who is a Mexican colorist. She's amazing. She's also a fabulous artist in her own right. So go and check her out. Go hire her. The colors really lend a different kind of life to the art than we've seen before.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Go over there, check it. Auroraandtheeagle.com. All right, let's get to that meet cute correct?
Yeah, what's the meet cute?
The meet cute is where we tell you where we first meeted and cuted said character. It's a term we stole from romantic comedy. So, Ashley, I'm pretty certain I know the answer to this, but let's tell the listeners, where did you first meet Stephanie Brown?
I first met Stephanie Brown, I think, in the first issue of Robin I ever read. I've known about her pretty much as long as I've known about Tim Drake. So, yeah, the 90s Robin series. I think it's where most people were first introduced to the character, but how about you?
Yeah, that's where I first met her. It wasn't the Robin solo series. It was when Tom Grummett was drawing. And,
Nice.
Tim Drake had that perfect circular rosy cheeks, cheeks you just want to pinch. I think I met her as Stephanie Brown before I met her Spoiler.
Yeah, she's Stephanie Brown for a little while before she becomes Spoiler, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you about that.
So there you go. That's where I met her. All right, great. Let's get into the History 101 and let's dive deep. I guess you could say there is definitely a spoiler alert in this episode. Get it, everybody? There you go. All right. Ashley, tell us all about Stephanie Brown.
So, bit of publication history before we actually get into her character stuff. So when Chuck Dixon was writing Detective Comics and tasked with reinventing Clue Master for the 90s, for the hip new modern era, he gave her a daughter, Stephanie Brown, who was intended as a plot device to, quote, spoil her father's plans. So again, I said that in the intro. It wasn't me being shady because I'm not fond of this character. That's literally what she was created to do.
Since we're in publication history, I want to talk a little bit about, I actually think Spoiler is a really great name for a superhero or a superhero type character. I actually think, I will say that I think in the modern day of big two superhero comic books, I think we've gotten a little clunky with our superhero names. And I know that there aren't a lot of great names and stuff like that. But what do you think about Spoiler? I think Chuck Dixon was really good. I think Spoiler's a great name for a fun teenage superhero.
It makes me think of a car.
Oh, you mean the spoiler wrap in a car?
Yeah. No,
that might have been where he got it.
I don't. It's a fine name. It's no sillier than anything else, but I don't think it's a great name.
Okay. All right. Fair.
So this all happened during the events of Night Quest. So this was the overarching Batman storyline at the time. Jason, really quick, what is Night Quest?
Night Quest is the second part of this giant Batman trilogy, where the first one, Nightfall, where Bane broke Batman's back. Night Quest was where Jean-Paul Valley took over as Batman, and he became the big spiky clawed Batman, as we like to call it.
There you go. Okay, so that's the publication history. Now we're going to get into all the fun stuff that was actually going around during Night Quest. I just really wanted to talk about her intro, and I really wanted to bring up that this was when Night Quest was happening, because I think that's a touchstone for a lot of Batman readers.
I mean, it's the big 90s storyline, so yeah.
So when Clue Master, Stephanie's father, broke out of prison, she put on a costume and it was purple and called herself Spoiler and went out into the night to hunt her father.
Dun, 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 dun.
And Robin came upon her and decided to team up and help her to bring Clue Master down. And Spoiler was so happy that she rewarded Robin, a complete stranger, with a kiss.
Yeah, it happens. They're kids. They're teenagers.
They are teenagers.
They're 14 at this point.
She was popular with fans, and when Dixon went on to write the Robin solo series 1 year after her introduction, she returned as a love interest for Tim Drake. She was often kidnapped or chased after by her father or her father's cronies, whom he managed to control from prison, using Spoiler as leverage in order to try and draw out Batman and Robin. Stephanie makes her romantic intentions to Tim clear. They begin to date after Tim broke up with his then girlfriend, Ariana. Ariana is the daughter of the mobster who he dates for a little while.
Yeah, it's the mob daughter that he it's like his first girlfriend in his solo series.
Yeah, Tim has a slew of bad girlfriends.
He has a lot of bad girlfriends.
Yeah.
Like teenagers.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, bad boyfriends, bad girlfriends. That's being a teenager.
But in true Tim fashion, it's super difficult because he has to keep his life with the Bat family secret from Stephanie, the same way that he has to keep his secret from his parents until they get brutally murdered. Besides chasing after Tim and begging to be installed as a member of the Bat family while actually getting into a lot more trouble and needing to be rescued, Stephanie doesn't get much by way of character development until about 1998. So for about the first 6 years of her existence, she's kind of relegated to a golden or a silver age arc where She fights with her dad or her mom. She gets kidnapped, or she tries to go out somewhere and gets kidnapped. And then Robin has to save her. And then she gets mad at Tim. And then she kisses Tim. And then they break up. And then they get back together again. That's kind of the cycle that she works on.
Yeah. And this generally this is a lot of this in the Robin solo series that Chuck Dixon wrote, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know
we're still firmly in the Robin solo series.
I know she she made an appearance here and there, but I know a lot of this is the Robin solo series.
Yes.
Okay.
So in 1998, this was the year that Stephanie found out that her ex-boyfriend, so not Tim, avowedly not Tim, had gotten her pregnant. This is around the time of the Batman event Cataclysm. So Jason, what is Cataclysm?
I mean, Cataclysm is where Gotham City has an earthquake and oh boy, there's rubble.
Yeah, someone from California definitely inspired that storyline.
It's probably 100% correct.
So even though he was not the father, Tim Drake took Stephanie to all of her appointments and her classes over the course of her pregnancy. Because this was the 90s, they went to Lamaze classes, which is like not a thing that people do anymore, but he was a good guy. I would also like to point out that, remember how he said that Tim was keeping his Batman family stuff separate from Stephanie and like not being really truthful with her? So she didn't know that his name was Tim Drake.
Okay.
She knew him by his most famous alter ego. Jason, do you know Tim's alter ego?
I want to say it's like Alvin Draper.
That's because that's what it is.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, good job.
I wanted to say Alvin Drake, but then I was like, no. He wouldn't choose the same last name.
Yeah. So it's Alvin Draper. So she didn't know Tim's real name. She only knew that he was her boyfriend, Alvin Draper.
Mm-hmm. Do you think did he wear a domino mask when he went to these classes with her, or would he just wear a wig? You know, like, what do you think he did?
I think he just shows up and is like, hey, Steph, it's me, your boyfriend, Alvin Draper.
It doesn't change his face at all. Well, I guess that's fair. You don't have to, because like she wouldn't recognize him.
Yeah, she doesn't know.
Yeah, okay, my bad. That's bad superhero logic on my point. Sorry.
There is no superhero logic if we're being completely honest with ourselves.
It's very similar to that Justice League scene where Lex Luthor looks at Wally West's face and is like, I have no idea who this is.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she's not a database, right? She's a person.
Yeah. And you will notice that her intellect was not mentioned among her superpowers.
Ouch.
I also bring that up because most of the Batman family are described as having like a genius level intellect, and Steph doesn't.
Okay, fair.
So her powers of observation are they're not as up there as like Cassandra Cain's, for example.
Yes.
It's her grit and determination that really works on her side and is really what drives her as a superhero. So she does eventually give birth to a daughter whom she gives up for adoption with Tim. I'm going to say Tim because we know he's Tim. She doesn't know he's Tim yet.
Yeah.
But with Tim's support.
Alvin.
Yeah, Alvin Draper. I got to say.
You don't meet many Alvins these days.
I don't think you did in the 90s either. Most.
You didn't grow up with any Alvins, Ashley, in
besides
the old
the Chipmunk?
Canada? I'm surprised you know the Chipmunk Alvin.
Why? Everyone knows Alvin and the Chipmunk.
Well, I don't know. To me, there's a weird dead air. This is like a weird hashtag Alvin and the Chipmunk sidebar. I feel like in the 90s, many people didn't know Alvin because like
there was an animated series.
Well, but the animated series like ended in the late 80s, and then the movies didn't come until the 2000s. So there's like a weird dead period for the Chipmunks.
I had an Alvin from Alvin and the Chipmunks puppet that was fully the size of my entire arm. It went all the way up to my shoulder.
In the States, like the Chipmunks disappeared.
I don't know. Maybe it's because in Canada we got stuff later, but like I remember watching the animated series in the 90s.
Well, thanks Canadians for keeping the Chipmunks alive, I guess.
There you go.
And all the Alvins.
So Stephanie's had her baby. She's given it up to adoption, but her and Tim are still dating, but their relationship doesn't really last because Stephanie becomes jealous of a friend that Tim has named Star. She thinks that Star is hitting on Tim.
Okay.
And so she breaks up with him.
All right.
So it's not until Tim leaves the country that Stephanie realized that she really, really missed him while he was gone. You know, absence making the heart grow fonder and all of that. Batman offered to train Spoiler properly. And when she comes into the Batcave for one of her spoiler lessons, he's like, hey, Robin's real name is Tim Drake for some truly incomprehensible reason. And this is how Stephanie first learns who Tim Drake actually is.
Oh, so she just kind of like accidentally puts it together.
She doesn't put it together. Batman tells her.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that's
So she's been like begging him for like 6 years, be like, please train me. And Batman's like, fine, Robin's gone. I need someone to try to kill. So he invites Spoiler over. And then it's like, by the way, Robin is Tim Drake. And she's like, what?
My apologies. Yes, because we're already too we're already up to the Bill Willingham Tim Drake run. Wow.
Yeah, well, because this is where Stephanie actually kind of gets stuff to do besides just like whining about not being in the Bat family and chasing after Tim.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we're in the later Robin run now. Yeah. So this drove yet another wedge between Stephanie and Tim, and Batman eventually decided that Spoiler was not superhero material, which in my opinion is accurate, and tells her to hang up her costume. And during this time, she'd also been training with the Birds of Prey, which makes sense because there was a while where Chuck Dixon was writing like Robin and Batman and Nightwing and Birds of Prey.
Anything Batman, he was writing.
And they're the ladies, so why not put the little lady on the lady team? And Batman told the Birds of Prey to stop associating with Stephanie, and they were no longer allowed to train her.
Okay.
Batman comes off really bad in this episode, I have to say.
Well, I will say, we've talked about this several times in the podcast. This is the late 90s, early 2000s. I think it's the early 2000s.
Yeah.
This is like the height of the Batman dickery, where he is just like
super dick Batman.
This is the Batman that punched Nightwing in the face. Like this is where... Because, this is Batman. Like, you can tell he's kind of cantankerous because Tim went to Europe or did whatnot. And
it's usually Europe.
Yeah. And Tim went to Europe a lot in his comic book.
I mean, Europe's great.
I mean, it is great, but why? He went there a lot. Why did he go? Did he have a European girlfriend, we think?
He definitely does, because we're going to talk about one later.
Well, there we go. Spoiler alert. Just bringing it back. Sorry. There you go. Ashley didn't like my spoiler alert joke, everybody. Sorry. All right.
I feel like you need a sound effect.
Well, we do have a spoiler alert sound effect. Hold on. All right, I'll try this again. All right. So, here we go. We're going to here we go. And I don't have a record drop. Here we go. So, Ashley, I feel like Tim Drake is going to Europe a lot. Does he have like a secret European girlfriend?
He definitely does, and we're going to talk about it later.
Spoiler alert.
There you go.
Does that work better?
It's funnier.
Okay, there we go.
Definitely funnier.
But yeah, Batman, like, because she's only Robin for like two issues.
So she's Robin in continuity time for about 2 weeks because Connor says that later in an issue.
By the way, and we should share this on the GHL socials, the cover of her first issue in the Robin suit is awesome.
Yeah.
I remember buying that single issue.
Yep. So and now you can find it in quarter bins across the world.
You're correct.
It's not an expensive issue.
All right, so I guess we're going to talk about Tim's European escapades for a bit.
No. He's going to have more later.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So Tim comes back, and Spoiler still manages to get Robin to betray Batman and patrol with her until she was basically told that her mother had died. She cuts all ties with Robin and went into a rageful crime-fighting spree because grief is a hell of a thing, friends.
Yep.
During this time, it's also tacked on that Stephanie had been hiding a secret of sexual assault by possibly her father, but definitely by her father's associates.
Oh, okay.
So they were like, "Oh, I don't think she suffered enough. What if she might have been raped?" Look, I don't care for the character of Stephanie Brown, but they do her really dirty with stuff like this time and time and time again, and it often comes out of nowhere. And yes, things can be repressed. Yes, you can take a long time dealing with things, but they just really abuse bomb her from time to time whenever she needs a new character development.
Yeah, and I know we're getting close to a thing that I know is coming about Stephanie Brown. And you are right. And we've had this with several other female characters as well, especially Spider-Woman. I remember that lesson.
Yep.
And
Captain Marvel as well, too, had a miscarriage in space.
That's right. And you think with Stephanie Brown, the teenage pregnancy storyline would be enough. You'd be like, that one, by the way, fascinating storyline. And at the time,
was very revolutionary and was coming out around the same time as Rocket in Milestone.
I think Rocket beat it slightly.
Yes, it did, which, you can decide for yourself if you think it was directly lifted or not.
Well,
I think Rocket did it better. I think Milestone did it
much better.
Personally.
Same company.
Yeah.
So it would not surprise me if the DC editors saw what Milestone was doing and was like, let's do that in Robin.
Yeah.
Because that actually happened. Superman steals some Icon stuff as well. A couple years after Icon does it. But yeah, we're gonna get into so there's now we have that, and now we have sexual abuse, and now we're gonna get even crazier because I know the next thing's coming. And when you think about this, you kind of can put this all together, and modern Stephanie Brown when you stack all this together, has so much trauma that I don't think she would be a superhero anymore.
Well, she certainly wouldn't. She certainly wouldn't be in good mental health because.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe Stephanie Brown's gone to a lot of therapy. I don't see it for superheroes because I think that's why they become superheroes.
Maybe.
But yeah, she's undergone a lot that male superheroes don't get piled on in this same way.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I just wanted to say that because I don't want to be dismissive. And I know I'm being a little bit glib.
Well,
but I don't want to be dismissive of like why this choice was made and why these choices were made because Tim Drake hasn't had any sexual assault or accusations of rape, but Stephanie Brown has.
There's a lot of Robins, and I don't think a single one of them has anything besides Stephanie.
Yeah, so there can be some hypocrisy in characters. That's all.
I agree, and yes, and we're only being glib because this is a humorous podcast, and you know. By the way, we didn't write it, so we didn't write it.
But also, I mean, at this time, up to this point that we've talked about, Stephanie's only been written by men, and perhaps that illustrates why stuff like this is happening.
Correct.
So, okay. So now we're at the point in Batman history where Tim's father, Jack, orders him to quit being Robin, which he does because he's a good boy who listens to his dad when he's still alive. And so he's kind of depressed by it because who doesn't want to punch villains in the face, I guess? And he grows closer to Stephanie in their sort of civilian identity. She knows that he's Tim now. They love each other. They're, I don't know what kids do. According to Euphoria, they're like wearing a lot of makeup and punching each other at county fairs. Until she surprises him one day at school. So he doesn't know she's coming. And she immediately becomes jealous because a girl named Darla Acquista is hitting on Tim and has a very obvious crush on him. And Tim dares to speak to her and treat her like a human being.
Mm-hmm.
So without talking to him, Stephanie just assumes that Tim is cheating on her. Now, she is a teenage girl. And having been a teenage girl myself, I don't think this is a huge logic leap, but I just want to point out that she doesn't even bother to talk to him. She just makes this assumption.
Okay.
She assumes that he's cheating on her. So in order to get revenge, she makes her own Robin costume with a little sewing machine and some needles and some clothes from whatever the Gotham equivalent of Santee Alley is. And she sneaks into the Batcave to take her boyfriend's job, which he had just given up.
Mm-hmm.
And for no reason that makes sense to me, Batman accepts her in Tim's absence. He's like, yeah, I guess. I already told you to quit being a superhero, but like, sure, you can be Robin. That makes a ton of sense. He gives her a proper costume. It's basically Tim Drake's costume.
Mm-hmm. With pants.
And
sort of like a skirt sort of idea.
It's a little more like a tunic, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know the best way to describe it, actually.
So I don't think skirt is wrong.
Yeah.
But it's like a full, like, top.
I think it looks good.
It looks great on her, but I want to say that I want to give some credit to the people, the creatives I just threw some shade at, because at least they didn't put her back in bare legs.
Yes.
Which you so could have easily done
and
for a
boots.
young female character.
Yep.
Once again, illustrating that women look better in the Bat family costumes than men do. Women look great in the Robin suit. Carrie Kelly walked so Stephanie Brown could run.
That's a great statement. Carrie Kelly walked so that Stephanie Brown
That should have been my
run.
teaching tweet.
Ashley, you can rewrite it. We can rewrite it live in the air. That's fine with me. We might need that on a T-shirt.
Okay, would people buy it? People like to see that?
If please, Carrie Kelly.
Carrie Kelly walked so Stephanie Brown could run.
Yeah, Carrie Kelly walked. That's wow.
I will just put up a tweet and I'll ask people if they like that.
Give me applause for that. That's well done.
Thank you. So she's got this proper new costume now. Stephanie and Batman go out on patrol, and it becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly that she just doesn't have the skills to match Tim. Now, again, I don't want to seem shady because this is not my favorite character in the world, but Stephanie has no formal training. Stephanie is the daughter of a criminal mastermind and a mother with mental health disorders who can't look after her. All of her training has come from Tim as he was being trained by Batman. She was with Batman and the Birds of Prey for a very short time. So there's no universe where she would have ever been as good a Robin as any of the Robins who came before her, with all of the crazy training, not crazy, I apologize, with all of the wild training that you would get living with Batman. So I don't know how Bruce ever thought this was going to be a good idea.
Can I propose an alternate theory?
Absolutely.
I think one could assume that her bonkers supervillain dad maybe showed her some stuff, that could influence her training. Also, I mean, you could argue that almost any other Robin, including Jason Todd, probably had the same level of training as Stephanie Brown when they started being Robin.
I just mean that Batman takes her out pretty much day one.
Oh, you mean out on the streets?
Yes.
Yeah. And we know that Dick Grayson has time for a year.
We know that all the other Robins had at least 3 months of training.
A training period,
before they went out. And so he gives Stephanie a costume. They go on patrol and he's like, you're not very good at this. And
you're fired.
It's like, duh.
Yeah, fair.
Stephanie does have a bit of a problem with authority. And she doesn't, in the great tradition of Jason Todd, really like following orders. And her inability to follow orders ultimately gets her fired from her job as Robin. Like I said, she's Robin for 2 issues in continuity. She does appear as Robin in a couple stories that cross over with Batman characters, but canonically it's only 2 issues. So it's a very, very short period of time. And in order to prove herself to Batman that she really does deserve to be Robin, she steals one of his plans and attempts to execute it independent of him, all on her own. However, a main step in her version of the plan involves a meetup with Matches Malone. Jason, who is Matches Malone?
Matches Malone is the most famous moniker that Batman uses to sneak around into the underworld so people don't know it's Batman. And you're talking about war games. I know this.
Yeah. So one of her plan involves meeting up with Batman. So as you can imagine, the second he showed up, things pretty much go sideways.
Actually, no, I'm apologize here because I'm very familiar with the storyline. The thing that goes wrong in this storyline is that Stephanie doesn't know that Matches Malone is Batman.
That's what I mean.
And the plan hinges on Matches Malone showing up, and Matches Malone never shows up.
Yeah, but the minute Matches Malone gets involved, even if it's only theoretical.
Yeah. So that's the reason why this all goes sideways.
Yeah, because she stole this plan from Batman and didn't talk to Batman, so Batman didn't know that he had to show up.
Yeah, and it sets off a gang war in Gotham.
It does. That's what it is. Yeah, the effects of Stephanie ruining this plan are so widespread that a gang war breaks out across the Gotham underground. And a key player in this is the Black Mask, who is going to be kind of, I won't say that they're Stephanie Brown's main villain, but they're a big shadow over Stephanie Brown's life.
You know, the Black Mask had been around Batman before this, and I kind of feel that this is the storyline that made Black Mask
a thing,
a big Batman villain. I think it's the thing that gave him notoriety.
I like Black Mask. I think they're interesting.
Yeah, he's fine. He's got. he's mainly one of those characters where he looks cool.
Yeah,
he looks cooler than what he actually is.
He's just a crime boss with a look.
Yeah, he just wears a skull mask.
Yeah,
and in some versions that's a real skull.
Yeah, no, it's a mask.
I like it's a mask too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So she's eventually kidnapped by Black Mask. Surprise! In captivity, to pile onto the trauma, Stephanie is severely tortured with the demand that she reveal a bunch of information about Batman and Robin, which she does because she's probably had no training in how to evade torture or how to deal with that. To the point where Black Mask learns his entire plan that Stephanie had bungled up to this point. She reveals everything that she had been trying to do, that she stole this plan from Batman, how it went wrong, how this gang worked. She gives up the goat here. And honestly, she basically gets to stick around because she's popular and people keep asking about her. But if you are thinking about from a real world perspective, is there any universe that after she reveals this, Batman lets her remain a superhero in Gotham?
No.
Like a street level reality, absolutely not.
This is and I'm certain we're going to talk about this later. I weirdly feel, and we always say make your own continuity. We have a t-shirt that says make your own continuity right over at tpublic.com/Jawiin, I believe.
Yep.
I kind of feel that, and for an event that, hold on a second. Spoiler alert. There we go. That's how to do it right. I weirdly feel that because of a thing that's coming down the pike here that I know you're going to mention, this story is, I think, kind of forgotten about in DC continuity.
Well, it has to be, because I'll tell you how it ends right now, my friend. Stephanie does eventually escape her torturer. She escapes from Black Mask. She is taken to the hospital and she dies. Hey, Hey, super friends. If you're listening to this podcast, I know that you love comic book podcasts, and a comic book podcast that I really love is The Comics That We Love, and it is returning for its second season. Host Jack McCrary is a lifelong lover of comics and wants to share that enthusiasm with the world. Join Zach each week as he and a different guest, sometimes Jason, sometimes me, sometimes other cool people, discuss the stories that have captured their love of the medium and celebrate the people who created them. This season is filled with classic stories like Old Man Logan by Mark Miller, James O'Barr's tortured tale, The Crow, and the opener of season 2, Batman, The Long Halloween, my favorite Batman story. Look forward to stories new and old, as well as discussions with comic book creators about their upcoming projects. Oh, was that why we were on, Jason? I think it might have been.
Probably.
Download or stream The Comics That We Love anywhere you listen to podcasts, with new episodes releasing every Wednesday on New Comic Book Day. Also, be sure to check out the amazing first season.
So wait a second. Stephanie Brown is dead. So that means it's the end of the show. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, right? Goodbye.
All right, be sure to check us out at geekhistorylesson.com.
Yeah.
Shortest lesson ever. No.
Wow. Actually, I don't think it's the shortest one, but it's fair. It's a very short one.
It's very short.
Very
Just
brief.
JK, of course. It is later revealed that Dr. Leslie Tompkins, Jason, real quick, who is she?
She's an old nurse / doctor, depending on the story, that knew
Yeah.
Thomas and Martha Wayne.
There you go.
She knows Bruce is Batman.
Yeah. She's awesome.
is
Doesn't
cool.
get enough due.
Yep.
Dr. Leslie Tompkins helped fake Stephanie's death for reasons that definitely don't even make a little bit of sense to me.
Yeah, let's not even go into them.
They do give some. I don't think they're worth mentioning.
Spoiler alert. They don't make sense.
They don't. But so she helps Stephanie escape. I guess girl power. So while studying abroad in France, who do we think just went to France, Jason?
Tim Drake?
That's right.
His European girlfriend.
So Tim is studying in France and like being sad about Stephanie and like seeing this like blonde girl in his class, and he's like, oh, she looks like Stephanie. I miss Stephanie. He runs into a superhero that he believes is impersonating the Spoiler.
Oh, in Europe.
In France.
Oh, okay.
Who's supposed to be what? Dead.
Ashley, you speak French.
Oui.
Do you know the French word for spoiler?
I don't.
Okay, I'll see if I can Google Translate real quick.
Yeah, Google it. I can definitely pronounce it.
Because I wonder if that was her name. Like her.
Oh, no, it's just Spoiler. She just says, I'm Spoiler. And Tim's like, but Spoiler be dead, though.
I still want to know what the French word for spoiler is.
That's really, I have to tell you, I've never had to use the word.
I'm going to figure it out.
Okay, so they see this person who they think is impersonating Spoiler. So...
Okay, so apologies for interrupting you.
You're fine.
This is what Google Translate, I'm showing it to you, Ashley, says is the French words for spoilers. Would you mind saying that?
Well, there's 3 other options for it.
How about you say which one do you think is the most correct?
I don't know. The last one is definitely the thing that's in a car.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one is, I think the first one is correct. It's divulgacher, which would be like to divulge something.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the correct, like to actually spoil something.
I am divulgacher.
Divulgacher. The second one is le becquet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not familiar with the etymology of that. And then the last one is le aérofrein, which is definitely like a fan or like a part of a machine.
I think the first one's the best one.
I think so. Divulgacher. It's a verb. So like to spoil something.
Yes.
Je suis le divulgacher.
Divulgacher?
That was not bad,
right,
actually. So he calls up Daddy Batman, and Daddy Batman comes to France.
Hold on here. Hold on. All right.
I got some real gems here.
Tim Drake.
Yeah.
You are Tim Drake.
Okay. Good.
You're going to be making a call to Daddy Batman. Here we go.
Okay.
Hello.
Daddy, I'm having a problem in France. Daddy Batman.
How did you get this number?
I live in your house.
I told you to change this number. What do you want?
Daddy, I need you to come to France to help me find what this spoiler person is, Daddy Batman.
What do they call themselves
They
now?
call themselves divulgacher, but I'm very good at French, and I know that means spoiler.
Speak American, damn it. I'm the American Batman.
Don't you speak like 12 languages, Daddy
yes,
Batman?
but there's a French Batman. They're called the Night Runner. Call them.
Are they canonically introduced yet, Daddy Batman?
No. Damn, you got me there. All right,
aren't they called I
think they're called the Night Runner. I think they're the Night Runner. I could be wrong on that.
I don't know. I could Google it. I'm not going to.
Look, I'm just going to send you like $2 billion. Take care of yourself. Bye. Click.
oh, Daddy Batman. That's not what happened.
I can still hear you.
Oh, no.
Hang up the phone.
Click. So Daddy Batman does show up.
Yes.
They track down, spoiler,
Devogachet.
She pulls off her mask to reveal that she is... Jason, who do you think she is?
Spoiler. Yes?
What's her name? What's the secret identity under that hood?
Oh, it's Leslie Tompkins, of course.
I wish.
No, it's Stephanie Brown, right?
Yeah, it's definitely Stephanie Brown.
Okay. There's no twist there. It's Stephanie Brown, right?
It's just Stephanie Brown.
Got it.
So she pulls off her hood. She gives a whole bunch of exposition about everything I just told you about.
Exposition.
I mean, it's so many speech bubbles about how Dr. Leslie Tompkins helped her flee to Africa as a volunteer.
Yep.
So many questions. I'm not going to bring them up.
Sure.
So they bring her back to Gotham because you can't stay in France. You've got no work visa. Who even are you?
You're going to be deported if we don't bring you back.
Yeah, we're not going to make you an employee of the Wayne Corporation. We're just going to bring you back to Gotham.
By the way, this just popped into my head. I can't imagine the amount of money that Bruce Wayne spends on paying off border patrols in various countries just so you don't have a record that Bruce Wayne is there, when Batman shows up.
Yeah.
That's a lot of that just popped up. So I can't imagine the millions of dollars he spends.
He's literally just
hopping the border.
What's it called? Like when Tom Cruise jumped out of the plane from basically space in Mission Impossible? Angel Drop?
No. It's like Strato.
But I assume that he flies in with a bat plane and just jumps in from outer space. So he just ignores the borders completely.
Yeah, but to get Stephanie on the plane, he has to land somewhere, and so that means he has to pay off an airfield.
Oh, that's true. That's very interesting. Or he just pays off some farmer in like Nice or whatever.
He's
or in Avignon, not Nice. Nice is a beach town, I know. In Avignon.
Hello, potato farmer. I need to land.
Well, in France, they're probably farming mustard.
But mustard farmer, I need to land on your mustard field. But the crap.
Je ne parle pas anglais, je comprends pas.
Oh, crap. I don't speak French.
Why do you think Batman wouldn't speak French?
Because he can pay everybody off. Of course, he's an international playboy. He speaks French. Yes.
Okay, so she's back in Gotham. She gets reunited with her mother. She enrolls at Tim's high school and starts working for Jason's favorite Batman villain, the Penguin.
Ooh.
At the Iceberg Lounge. By the way, she's not supposed to be doing this. She's not doing this for like a mission.
Whack, whack, whack.
She just starts working with him and helping him run his criminal enterprises. And Stephanie, really
It's called space diving, by the way. I'm sorry. That term we were looking for earlier.
Thank you.
Yep.
And is a real boon.
Or strato diving.
To Penguin's operation until Batman and Robin find out and make her stop. And she misses Oswald so much that she sends him a note apologizing for letting him down when he needed her the most.
Ashley.
I wish this had been her villain turn.
Ashley, this might be, I didn't know about this.
It's a very short
I didn't know about
story.
This. This might be the most fascinating thing about Stephanie Brown because think about it. She's the daughter of a supervillain.
Well, and if they'd made her a little more villainous and kept her relationship with Tim going, which again, I am not in favor of, but if they had, it would have mirrored Bruce's romance with Selina.
Yeah, I actually think she should just permanently work at the Iceberg Lounge. And
can you imagine her being the babe who's the MC, but she's high key running everything?
Well, and and it'd be one of these things where every once in a while you could have her put on the spoiler costume and go team up with Robin.
Of course.
And then I think it would be even cool if Oswald would, of course, know. He would figure it out. He's that smart.
But especially if he's the one who's kind of feeding information back to Batman, it would make sense that Steph could kind of ride that line as well.
Yeah, and I think he would kind of, you could even put it up to, I guarantee you in all their exploits, Penguin hired her dad.
I'm sure.
So I also guarantee you that he knew her as a little girl.
Yeah, maybe he becomes kind of a father figure to her.
Yes! He becomes the supervillain father that her dad should have been. DC Comics, for God's sakes, call us.
Yeah. we will write this
This
for you.
is fat. There's a lot of juice in that story.
Yeah. Well, we don't really ever go back to it, so I hope you enjoyed it. While we talked about it for 2 minutes.
That was nice. Man, that's where they should have put her.
And see, to me, that is proof that even characters that you don't think are interesting at the surface
just need the right story.
Or there's always a take on a character that can get a new person interested in them.
That just seemed to me the minute you said that, I was like, that's her perfect place in this. Oh man. All right.
Well, we'll just put that back in the vault for when DC does come.
Okay, cool.
She makes her next major appearance during Batman R.I.P. Jason, real quick, what's Batman R.I.P.?
That's when Batman rested in peace. Actually, he didn't rest in peace. He wasn't dead at all. He was traveling through time and being a pilgrim.
There you go. Where she, betrays Robin again.
What?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. So Tim is really distraught over the death of his adopted father, and he asks for Steph's help in his search across the globe to prove that Bruce isn't dead, because Tim is the smartest, and he knows that Bruce is not actually dead.
Uh-huh.
But speaking of Dick as Batman acts like a super dick and orders Stephanie to, I'm not kidding, lead Tim astray and not help him because he needs to figure out how to handle things without outside help.
All right.
Dick's real bitter that Tim is bitter about Damian. He also asks her to make Tim a stronger hero. So what does she do? She hires the assassin Scarab to go after her kind of boyfriend.
Okay.
It may shock you to learn that this leads to Tim pulling away from his relationship with Stephanie.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. The Scarab eventually goes rogue, of course, because Stephanie was like, look, I'm going to hire you to beat up my boyfriend, but please don't kill my boyfriend. So Stephanie has to help save Tim's life.
And the Scarab's like, weren't you that waitress from the Iceberg Lounge?
LOL.
We don't talk about that.
After they take down the villain Anarchy together, Stephanie admits to Tim that she had sent all these villains after him in order to make him a better Robin. And Tim admits that it did make him a better Robin. But as a result of this betrayal, he could no longer trust her, and he orders her to hang up her spoiler cape. This is the third time she's basically been fired from her own superhero
Also,
identity.
I think this is a fair argument because Tim Drake's like, that one guy broke my nose.
I mean, probably. How many nose jobs do you think on average a Bat family member gets? Just reconstructive.
Well, I'm no medical expert in any idea.
No, you're a doctor. This is science.
Okay. I mean, how many times can you have your nose broken before you just can't have
before
it
just
repaired?
caves in?
Yeah.
I think 3 or 4, not that many.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea. I've never had my nose broken.
Well, I mean, okay, so
definitely less than 10, right?
Here's a goofy comic book explanation.
Yeah.
We have to assume
Titanium noses.
all of their domino masks have padding.
Oh.
Because with the exception, Nightwing is the only, Nightwing's has a little thing, but Robin's.
Well, I like the ones where they have the really long split in the middle.
If you look at the Chris O'Donnell domino mask, that's what I believe Robin's mask is. And it covers his nose just like Batman's does.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume that there's some hardcore padding or a metal plate in there.
Jason, that's a great, absolutely nonsensical comic book explanation.
It's dumb because it would make that domino mask
a
5
billion
pounds.
I love it though. Headcanon accepted.
Let's go with it.
I love that so much.
So they've maybe had one or
maybe
two.
one or two. Okay.
When Bane punches you in the face.
Yeah.
Ow!
Stephanie goes on to make a brief appearance in Teen Titans when candidates are being considered to replace Miss Martian. She pops up in the Red Robin solo series, sharing Dick's concern about Tim's inability to accept Damian Wayne as a new Robin. It hurts me to say that because I don't want to accept Damian Wayne as the new Robin.
Well, he's been Robin for 15 years now at this point.
You know what? Not in my head, Ken.
Okay. All right.
When she tries to reach out to Tim on his search, she finds him in his secret base of operations, and he kicks her in the chest and tells her to go away because I can't trust you.
Why the chest? Ow.
Honestly, if you're gonna kick someone and you don't want to actually hurt them, kicking them in the chest, as long as you don't kick someone's boobs, is one because you have that big bone. It's one of the safer places to kick someone.
Well, we know.
And if they're wearing armor, she'd be fine.
Look, he's
not trying to hurt her, he's trying to get her to go away.
If we have nose padding, there's boob padding.
There's boob padding in regular armor.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
All right.
Somewhere along the lines, this happens off panel, so I'm not being facetious when I say this.
Ow, my clavicle.
No. Somewhere along the line, she graduates from high school and enrolls at Gotham University.
Yeah.
And this is around the same time that Cassandra Cain gives up being the mantle of Batgirl because she's kind of disillusioned with the loss of Bruce Wayne. So Stephanie becomes Batgirl. Barbara Gordon tries to talk Stephanie out of being a vigilante because she's too impetuous, but they ultimately team up in order to take down the new Black Mask, who had teamed up with Scarecrow to dispense a new drug across Gotham called Thrill. I love the nonsense names they give to drugs in the Batman universe.
I also got to say that Stephanie's Batgirl costume is, I think, really cool looking. Now, it doesn't beat Cassandra Cain's, but...
So she doesn't have her new official costume yet. She's still wearing Cassandra Cain's costume.
Oh, really? I didn't
Yeah.
know that. I thought she had the purple black one right out the gate.
No. So she wears Cass's costume for her whole first arc.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So,
Interesting.
Hold on.
Okay,
Don't
sorry.
go while I will tell you when she gets her costume.
Spoiler alert. There we go.
So after Stephanie takes down Scarecrow, Barbara allows her to remain Batgirl, and she even becomes a professor at Gotham University where she can be closer to Stephanie and mentor her.
Mm-hmm.
I do like...
In library sciences, right?
Yes. Yeah. I do like Barbara taking a really active... She did the same thing with Cass. She takes it very seriously that she mentors the Batgirls, and I really love that about her.
Yeah.
It's after this first arc, so it's after she defeats Black Mask and Scarecrow that Stephanie gets her original new purple costume.
Yes, and her super awesome and very impractical thigh belt.
I love this. She is my least favorite Batgirl. I love this costume.
This costume is really good.
This costume should be on screen. It's amazing.
This arc is,
Brian Q. Miller.
It's Brian Q. Miller from Smallville who wrote this. Yeah.
I think it's a great Batgirl arc. I've enjoyed it. I wish it was anyone other than Stephanie Brown. It's a great arc, though.
Sure.
Spoiler for the recommended reading. Can I have a spoiler alert, please?
Oh, spoiler alert.
For a story that's going to be in the recommended reading. She then begins a romance with a GCPD officer.
What? Okay.
Which Barbara puts an end to because Stephanie is still a teenager.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Barbara's the greatest mom that nobody deserves.
All right, fair.
The two women find themselves in direct odds to Dick Grayson and Damian Wayne, but they do eventually come together as a new Batman family. Stephanie has a bit of conflict with Damian because Damian is a little piece of
He's 10.
But they do, you know what? That's honestly no excuse. Damian is a piece of trash when he starts being Robin. He's so bad. He calls Stephanie fat.
Wow.
Yeah, like Damian is not, and he has had, I will concede, he has had a lot of growth and a lot of change since then.
Well, if people know, in the very last episode, Batman also called Penguin a fatty. So it like father, like son.
That's true. That's true.
But nobody should body shame anybody else.
But I bring that up because they do actually come to a nice little friendship. And I really think that of all the Robins, Stephanie has the most sibling relationship with Damian. And I think it's because they're both hard-headed pains in the butt.
That makes sense.
So they're like very similar in that way.
Well, and both of their character arcs are people tell them not to do something and they do it.
And they do it anyway, exactly. Yeah. The family bliss is interrupted when Tim Drake returns from his global search to discover Stephanie in the Batcave wearing the Batgirl suit, which he did not receive warmly. They reluctantly team up to stave off Ra's al Ghul's attacks on the likes of Dr. Leslie Tompkins and other people that they love. And her final adventure as Batgirl pits Stephanie against her father, only to be ensnared by a piece of the Black Mercy. Now, Jason, what is the Black Mercy?
The Black Mercy is an invention of Alan Moore. It's this alien creature that like attaches to your chest and basically kills you while it gives you your ultimate fantasy. It's from the man who had everything. It's a Superman story.
Great Superman story. I believe it's one of our best Superman stories ever.
It definitely is. It's also one of the best Justice League episodes of all time.
Yes. Also, Supergirl did a version of it that was also very good.
That's right. It's
for the girl who has everything.
It's a really good concept.
It's a great plot device.
It's a little overused at this point.
I think so. In the future, she sees a future team made up of herself, Cassandra Cain, and Barbara Gordon fighting against the Royal Flush Gang, and a new Batgirl named Nell, who we have never come back to. DC Comics people, I know you're listening. I would love to introduce this character for you. Thank you.
Why isn't that character in the series that they're publishing right now? Batgirls
is high-key very good. And
drawn
Stephanie,
by Jorge Corona, who is super awesome. And
Jupiter Jet collaborator.
Yep, Jupiter Jet artist. Yeah.
Who also drew a bunch of really great Robin stuff.
That's right.
Yeah. Batgirls is actually very good.
Yeah, it's rocking.
Okay, I'm going to put a pin in that, and I'm going to talk about that later.
Spoiler alert.
Then the new 52 happens. Jason, what's that?
Barry Allen ran in the past because he missed his mom. He couldn't save her. And when he ran back to the future, he stepped on too many butterflies, and the entire DC universe had changed except for Batman.
So, Jason, what year does the new 52 happen?
2011.
Okay, so I want you to keep the year 2011 in your mind.
Okay, I got it. 2011.
Stephanie doesn't appear in continuity again until Batman number 28, published in April of 2014.
2011.
So that's 3 years later.
Okay.
That's how long they wait to reintroduce
Not
Stephanie.
that long, actually.
But considering how short the New 52 actually ran, in terms of overall how long comics have been published, it's quite a long time.
The New
It's
52
like
was
more
around
than half.
Was basically went away in 2016.
Yeah, so she's only around for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
She's seen tied up in a vault by Selena Kyle. Then soon after, she appears in Batman Eternal #3 in July of 2014, where she's a young teenager with a penchant for wearing purple in the shadows of her father, the Clue Master.
Yeah.
She does, in the same storyline, spoil her father's plans.
Oh, boy.
Same kind of origin.
Yeah, fair enough.
Again, by leading her to a vigilante lifestyle and calling herself Spoiler. Then DC Rebirth happens. That's like literally all she does in the New 52. Jason, what is DC Rebirth?
Well, DC Rebirth is just a soft rebranding. It's basically the New 52, except they just put in
some different costumes on people.
They put different costumes on some people, and then suddenly Superman had a kid.
Yeah. That was the best part of it, honestly.
It literally is the best part of Rebirth.
She is recruited onto Batman's emergency response team alongside Batwoman, Red Robin, Orphan, and Clayface. We talked a little bit about this Clayface stuff in last week's GHL Extra.
We did. We had a really interesting Clayface conversation.
Yeah. So when Red Robin later dies, and I put that in quotation marks, Stephanie gets very angry and she lashes out and she fights her team and she threatens to expose all of their secret identities to the world unless they give up vigilantism because she doesn't want to see anyone else die.
Oh, boy.
Nobody takes her up on her offer. So she quits the team and threatens to stand against Batman until he gives up the cowl, actively working against her former ally. So again, kind of a villain turn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's among the first to discover the divergence in the timelines and works to fight against OMAC and bring this to Tim's attention until he believes her because he doesn't believe her. So she's the first one to figure out.
Because at this point, he'd come back to life.
Exactly. Yes, that's why, again, dies in quotation marks.
Yeah, they thought he was dead, but he wasn't.
He was not dead. Until he believes what she's saying and agrees to investigate the divergence further. And she is one of the main players in last year's event, Joker Warzone, but that storyline just wrapped up. The collection just came out, so this is where we are going to end the episode.
So she's with Tim still. He hasn't broken her clavicle.
They're not dating, though, because Tim is like thinking about dating boys now, which people got real mad about.
That's right.
But he's like,
they did date for a while. Again.
Yes, look, Tim and Steph
are on again, off again.
I'm going to say this with great reluctance because I hate their romance. They are the Riker and Troy of DC Comics.
They're the Bruce and Selena.
Yes, exactly.
You made that comparison earlier on, and I thought that was very apt.
They will wind up together, but when they are like old fogies who hung up their capes.
They're the people. They're the people that have that deal that if they both cross 50 and neither one of them are married, they're just going to get married.
Yeah. And like Tim's going to kiss some boys in the meantime, and Steph's probably going to kiss some girls in the meantime, and like that's great.
Yeah, go for it.
So that's your Stephanie Brown episode.
Huzzah! Huzzah!
I do want to say, if people really enjoyed our divergence, where we were talking about if Steph should have a villain turn, I would really encourage you to check out this week's Geek History Lesson Extra podcast, which is available at our Patreon, patreon.com/Jawiin, where we are going to be talking about Stephanie's place in the Batman family, where she should be, and a little bit more about her identity. It's one of my favorite extra podcasts that we do over there. So check that out this week, patreon.com/Jawiin.
Yeah, and not only do you get that podcast, you get bonus podcasts like Jason and Jeremy and John about Justice League, which is our Justice League animated review podcast. We just booked some very special guests that worked on Justice League, and they're going to be appearing on the podcast very soon. And Jason and Ashley's Excellent Adventures, where Ashley and I get personal into our lives. We did a recent episode where we talked about, do we believe in aliens or not? So go on over there, support the podcast, and thank you to everyone who supports us over there already. And we're so thankful for everybody that supports us in this 8 years of Geek History Lesson. Then we're going to do another giveaway.
Wow, it's March Madness here on Geek History Lesson.
We should just call it March Madness.
Happy Women's History Month. Happy Ashley's birthday month.
Anyways.
What are we giving away, Jason?
Today, we are giving away the 4K Ultra HD of the DC animated movie Injustice, which is based on the video game Injustice. Basically, it's Superman goes evil, kills the Joker, and the DC superheroes are like, what do we do? So here's how you're going to get it. You got to go over to Geek History Lesson on Instagram, guys. Where is that, Ashley?
At Geek History Lesson.
Yes. So you're going to see a post of this Injustice Blu-ray. And on that post, like that Instagram post, share that post in your stories on Instagram. and tag the Geeks for Us London account. Make sure you follow the account. We will check. There are, no fan accounts, no giveaway accounts. And then in the comments, tag a friend in the post who loves geeky content that you think would love this episode. And then also, lastly, go over to Apple Podcasts and write a review on Apple Podcasts. If you've already written one, steal your girlfriend's account that sometimes you click in the clavicle. Steal her account, write another review. This is available to anybody in the United States. This giveaway is available to international listeners, but if we pick you an international listener, we will ask that you have to pay for shipping because, international shipping costs have gone crazy since the pandemic happened. But if you want a copy of the 4K Ultra Blu-ray of the DC animated movie Injustice, we got that for you. Go help us celebrate 8 years of GHL. And now we're going to the recommended reading. That is where Ashley is going to give you her recommendations for 3 to 4 to sometimes 6.
It's usually only 6 when we do list episodes.
That's fair. I just, the numbers change. So,
they do.
Go to recommended geekhistorylesson.com/recommended reading. And that's where Ashley is going to tell you some spoiler stories. And we have all the little widgets. So if you want to pick those books up over on Amazon, you can. They're already there for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Ashley. So what should we read if I want to get some spoiler alerts?
My number one recommendation for you, this is the best, most complete Stephanie Brown for your buck. Batgirl, Volume 1 by Brian Q. Miller.
Yeah.
There's 3 volumes all together. The art is amazing. In my opinion, this is Steph at her full power. So check that out.
Yeah.
I am also going to recommend Robin Volume 1 by Chuck Dixon.
Yeah.
This is my favorite Robin series. This is what introduces her to the world,
She pops up in the first 10 to 12 issues?
She does, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just as Stephanie Brown, the real good spoiler stuff comes in Volume 2, so maybe I'll collect them both together.
I think Volume 2, one of those volume collections has her on the cover.
It's called Robin and Spoiler, but she does get introduced in Volume 1, so go check that out.
They're all both on there.
I'm also going to recommend picking up Robins, which ends this week, the full collection, because beginning with Super Sons, I have started to, I'm not going to say I've turned around on Damian Wayne, but I've started to be able to enjoy him in the Teen Titans that started at the beginning of Rebirth again. And I'm having a similar moment right now with Stephanie Brown in Robins and in the Batgirl series, which we talked about earlier. So I'm going to recommend Robins. It just went up. The volume is available for pre-order right now. Batgirl's just started.
So it's not collected
yet.
It's
not collected yet. So I will probably put up the first issue and then I will go back later, if you're listening to this in the future, hello, future people, and add the first volume because I am really enjoying how they're changing Stephanie and how she's kind of evolving in my opinion, for the first time. So that is your recommended reading.
Yeah, Robin's written by great writer Tim Seeley, who I'm actually kind of shocked we have not had on this podcast. He'd be great. He's an awesome writer.
Tweet at him and tell him you want him on the pod.
We'd love to have him on.
There you go.
So there you go. All right, now we're going into the teaching tweet, my most divisive section of this podcast, because Twitter keeps changing their characters. We don't know how many characters they are, but we decided to make a funny tweet that basically summarizes the entire episode into however many characters Twitter has now currently. And you can find this tweet over on our Twitter at GHL Podcast. And here we go.
Okay, so I'm going to keep my original teaching tweet because it centers Stephanie more, and the Carrie Kelly walks so Stephanie Brown could run kind of puts Carrie in the hero position, and this is our Stephanie lesson, but I will tweet both of them. Stephanie Brown, the misfit of the Batman family.
That's very fair.
So there we go.
That's very fair. And by the way, listeners, please tweet at us at GHL Podcast if I forget to make that t-shirt. I should make that t-shirt.
I will tweet that quote, and I will ask people if they would like it on a t-shirt.
I might just go ahead and put it. I'll put it in like the Batman font, like a Batman font or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do it.
Or maybe we'll put it in several Batman fonts and have them do a poll and be like, which one do you want?
That's a good idea.
Let me make a note on that. All right, let's go into the honor roll while I'm writing these notes. This is where if listeners go over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review for thanks for helping us, bump up in the Apple search algorithm, we read whatever they write on the podcast. You just have to give us 5 stars. It's that easy. Who is joining the honor roll and welcoming into the GHL Teachers Lounge this week?
So the first person joining the honor roll this week is Philip Brian Butler, friend from the Midwest, who says, Here. I usually listen on YouTube, but here is better, meaning Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, I will say that real quick. We do put these episodes on YouTube, but They're
like 6 weeks behind.
They're always like 2 months behind.
Yeah,
so if you want to be the most current, it's always on the podcast.
If you want to understand what we're tying into and the most timely references, this is definitely the best place. And the review goes on to say, yes, here. Why? Because I closed the app and the audio stays playing. Yes, Philip. Yeah, that's right. You knew that already? Okay, fine. But beyond that inconsequential information, this podcast remains awesome. Here's why they know more than me. Oh, I didn't open the full review. It says read more. I rarely admit that. You can admit that. And they're funny. Yeah, that's right. Smart and funny. I'm sorry. I only read the preview of your message.
It's all good, Philip. We apologize that we didn't pre-plan this. It's all good. You're a good fella.
We adore you, and I think you know that.
Wrong sound effect, Philip. Here, I'll give you the right one. Here we go. And we'll give him the full applause.
There you go. And they are also joined by Suspenseful_Spence, who says 10 out of 10 would recommend. Started listening to this podcast during COVID times, and it has become one of the only podcasts I listen to continuously each week. I've started collecting comics a few years back, but always felt like I never knew enough about the characters and world they lived in. Then I found Geek History Lesson and was immediately hooked. Jason and Ashley create a fun, safe, and welcoming environment.
Well, welcome into the Teacher's Lounge, the both of you. This week in the Teacher's Lounge, Professor Dr. Tompkins is teaching basic first aid. Ooh. And also how to fake your death 101.
How to fake your death and move to Africa.
Yeah, it's a very interesting class. I will tell you that Jeremy Skinner, who, as we know, sleeps in a sleeping bag in the corner of the Teacher's Lounge, co-host of Jason and Jeremy and John about Justice League, he's been trying to ask Dr. Tompkins out to dinner.
Does Catherine Hahn know about this?
Catherine Hahn's fine with it.
Oh,
she's
okay.
also in the Teacher's Lounge.
That's very progressive of them. I love that.
And Dr. Tompkins wants no part of it. He's trying, though. He's a trying.
Jeremy wants to marry a doctor. What can I say?
Hey, I mean, Leslie is a beautiful lady. All right, everybody, don't forget to follow and click subscribe on all the podcast feeds that you're listening to, Spotify, Apple, Google Music, wherever you find us. And if you like this episode, please suggest it to a friend and definitely get in on that giveaway, guys, and get that Injustice 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray. Ashley, where can they follow the podcast on social media?
You can do that at facebook.com/geekhistorylesson, on Twitter at GHL Podcast, and on new Instagram at Geek History Lesson. Also, be sure to go to geekhistorylesson.com/blog. Check out the new blogs that we're doing every Thursday. A couple weeks ago, we wrote a really awesome piece that people are really reacting to really well about how powerful is Clea Strange. Mm-hmm. So check that out.
You can follow Ashley on Instagram and Twitter at Ashley V. Robinson. Definitely check out her Kickstarter before it ends at auroraandtheeagle.com. Then come over to Twitter and Instagram for me at Jawiin, Jawiin. And Ashley, now we are to hashtag stick around, the final section of the podcast. What are we spoiling about?
Do you think Stephanie Brown is ever going to be in a movie?
Interesting. It's funny, we kind of briefly had this conversation before we recorded.
Yeah, I liked what you said, which is why I wanted to ask it again.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Did you have a different stick around originally?
I did.
Oh, let's do both of them.
Well, I put it in the extra, so people can come over to the extra to learn the original stick around.
Yeah, so what I said before the podcast is I think what they'll do with Stephanie Brown in the movies is what they did with Cassandra Cain in Birds of Prey, is that they'll just strip her name off and park it on a character. But do I think she'll be a Batgirl or a Robin in a movie? No, she could be a Batgirl or a Robin, probably in an HBO Max movie.
Well, she's on Batwoman.
That's right. Yeah. But
she's spoiler there.
Is she wearing a full costume?
You know what? I surely didn't Google that.
Let's do a really quick Google. But in terms of the movies, like, we have too many other Robins. Like, I think actually weirdly, I've been saying this for a while. I kind of weirdly think we'll see Damian Wayne before any of the other Robins in a movie. Now at this point, but. No, I think she'll be a supporting character is what I think she'll be.
Scroll.
Come on, Batwoman wiki.
She's not even the daughter of the
Sorry, everybody.
person.
We don't watch Batwoman. There's too many shows out there nowadays. There's too much content.
It seems like right now she's just the daughter of Cluemaster. She didn't kiss Luke Fox though, apparently.
Well, they just made the Batwing costume, so they're probably out of budget.
Yeah, I think...
What do you think?
I saw in the initial announcement that she was going to be spoiler. Now, they could walk that back, of course. I think they'll make her spoiler next season.
That's fair. If Batwoman gets another season.
Or maybe Batgirl. They're not going to cancel any of those Arrowverse shows.
Well, I'm telling you, the CW is going to get sold away from Warner Brothers here. That was announced a couple months ago. So we might not have a network for Batwoman to exist on next year.
Well, we'll see.
They might not have a choice.
Yeah.
All right. But you definitely have a choice, and you listen to us. So we thank you for listening to this episode of Geek History Lesson. I am Jason Love My Thigh Utility Belts Inman.
I am Ashley Victoria Robinson.
And Professor Ashley, will you please close this podcast?
Class is now dismissed.